What's going on, all you brainiacs out there? King of Trade, Shane Palmer here, joined by Spitfire, Lucas Parrish.
What's going on, guys?
No chemist Jack McGrath, because this is an emergency podcast episode, whatever you want to call it, that's going to go on YouTube.
Little snippet, about 10-ish minute snippet.
Because Russell Wilson may not be a Seahawk for very much longer.
No way.
I'm shocked. But if this offseason has taught me anything so far, it's that literally anything can happen.
And I mean, literally anything can happen. All the Deshaun Watson stuff. What was Adam Schefter's over-under for new teams with quarterbacks?
Like that?
18? I think it was 18. That's more than half the league. When was the last time something like that happened? Probably not ever, like legitimately.
So right now, although nothing's confirmed and, this is all speculation at this point, I know Russ walked out of the meeting because they were still not focusing on the offense and the changes that he wanted to see. So if he were to be traded right now, and he has a no trade clause similar to Deshaun Watson, so he kind of controls his own destiny here, it would be to the Cowboys, Saints, Raiders, and Bears. 4 teams right there. Unfortunately, not the Jets, but the Jets can't have everything. I can only wish for so long. But those are 4 very interesting teams, 4 teams that don't have a ton of cap space to work with right now. I know if the Seahawks were to let go of Russ in any sort of trade, they'd be eating over $35 million in dead cap space, which is just insane. Let's start with the Seahawks side of all of this. If somehow they traded away Russell Wilson, who do you even see being their quarterback?
I have no idea. I don't know. I have legitimately no idea. They're not in a spot to draft a legitimate quarterback because they made the plaffs. So
they actually don't. They don't have a first round pick because the Jets own their first round pick this year and next year.
So who are they going to get at this point? I don't think Mac Jones falls out of the first round.
Definitely not. I've seen Mel Kiper had him today going.
I saw that mock draft. I wanted to tear my eyes out when I saw that. Mel Kiper. That was such a dumb. It's such a dumb take to say Mac Jones should be drafted before Trey Lance. So dumb. I get it. He was ridiculously accurate. You know what? He also had the best wide receiver core. Trey Lance's ceiling, sky freaking high. Mac Jones' ceiling, very limited. Unless he has the NFL football intelligence of Tom Brady, his ceiling is very, very limited. And you know what? I have a feeling he doesn't have that type of football intelligence. Trey Lance, on the other hand, ceiling sky high. I apologize. There was a little rant there. But what are they going to do? Take Kyle Pitts in the second round? That'd be horrendous. Like, I mean, if they trade away Russell Wilson, they're going to have to go out and get some other type of veteran quarterback.
Dak? I mean, listen, Dak could be
a possibility. Or what if, let's say they trade him to the Bears, they get Mitchell Trubisky back.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see it on one hand, but like, I think that could be a legitimate thing that happens. They trade him to the,
to the Raiders. I can see them getting Derek Carr back.
Yeah,
so that could be something too. I think what it's going to come down to also is we've heard enough rumors that Chris Carson might not be back in Seattle anyways, and they've been interested in bringing in Mike Davis and obviously keeping Rashad Penny there. So their whole offense could look pretty different next season. What does this mean for DK, though, and Tyler Lockett? DK, a guy that in our mock draft, I took in the second round, and he was a top 3 wide receiver for about the first half of the season, and then kind of fell off towards the later half, but still finished as a legitimate wide receiver 1.
He was still very good. I mean, if they get Dak, obviously, like it doesn't really affect him
I
that
think
much.
He's still the same, yeah.
If they get Mitch Trubisky, though, or even Derek Carr, I still like him, but he still drops. I mean, or if they go out and sign like what if they do this? What if they go out and sign like a Jameis Winston?
Very, very but I still think that hurts DK. That drops him at least a round.
Yeah, I don't know, at least in my rankings. But Jameis Winston would be high upside there fantasy wise for those guys. But I mean, you want to talk about what happens if he goes to the Bears? What happens to, let's say they re-sign Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney? Those guys shoot up.
Yes.
I mean, you want to talk about to the Saints, Michael Thomas, baby. Michael Thomas to the moon.
I think Michael, he's not He still obviously is not the first wide receiver you take. No chance. That's either Adams or Diggs or Hill. Or Hopkins. That's a tier right there. I still don't think Michael Thomas is in that.
But he'd be
top
5. He
four
would be
tier.
5.
He's 5 or 6 at that point.
Yep.
100%. He is 5 or 6, and he easily could again finish as the number 1 overall wide receiver if he were to go to the Saints. That would be nuts.
Absolutely. It'd be ridiculous. What were the other 2 teams, Shane?
So we got the Cowboys, Saints, Raiders, Bears.
Oh
Let's talk about the Cowboys.
I want to talk Cowboys.
Jack isn't here, but you and I love CeeDee Lamb.
He's so good. He's so good.
And, you know, Dak with CeeDee Lamb is still great. I still think CeeDee Lamb, because that's how we're projecting this and how we've been projecting this, is Dak with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee's going to take the next step and be an elite wide receiver, not only for fantasy, but just in the league in general. I think you swap out Russ for Dak. I don't know if there's too much change there in our trajectory.
Exactly the same thing.
Lamb.
Exactly the same thing with you're talking about Dak going to the Seahawks. What happens if they start the season with Russell Wilson on the Cowboys and Dak on the Seahawks?
I can't see Russ in a Cowboys uniform. I
can't imagine it. I cannot. That would be insane. I mean, this whole offseason is going to be insane. But yeah, no, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, it does not hurt them if Russell Wilson is there versus Dak.
All right, let's talk about the Raiders now for a second. Obviously, they don't have a clear-cut number 1 wide receiver, but they easily have a clear-cut number 1 target in Darren Waller. Would you put Darren Waller above George Kittle?
It's interesting to talk about that because Russell Wilson has never thrown the ball to a tight end.
Well, he has. I'm sure he's thrown the ball a few touchdowns to Will Disley
but I'm saying he's never had a highly productive tight end. You know, Russell Wilson's never.
Jimmy Graham. You could argue Jimmy Graham.
Sure, but I mean, when he went to the Seahawks, he still fell off a cliff from what he was with the Saints, right? Obviously, you can put that on age or whatever you want to do, but we haven't ever seen Russell Wilson create that much value for the tight end position. I figure if he goes to the Raiders, obviously Darren Waller would. I don't know.
Darren Waller's a different story. Darren Waller is a wide receiver. He just happens to play tight end. He is.
He's got the athleticism of a wide receiver. Absolutely. I would, in that case, move him above George Kittle, but I don't know how much. I don't know how much higher I would move him because Derek Carr and Darren Waller have such good chemistry. Again, Russell Wilson has never created a fan of particularly fantasy relevant tight end, and that is still going to be a little bit concerning for me. I think the bigger thing to look at is what happens with Henry Ruggs.
That's what I was going to bring up too, because that was your guy this past season.
And I loved Henry Ruggs, not because of any particular thing of coming out of the draft. I thought he was, I thought honestly coming out of the draft, he was a little bit overrated. What I loved so much about Henry Ruggs was that the Raiders wide receiver 1 spot was wide open. Obviously Nelson Aguilar went in and took it up, but Henry Ruggs is still a ridiculously fast wide receiver. I mean, he's got Tyreek Hill speed, but he's also bigger than Tyreek Hill. You know, there's a huge opportunity there for Henry Ruggs if you're looking at Russell Wilson there. Henry Ruggs would shoot up my board if Russell Wilson ended up on the Raiders.
Nelson Aguilar is also currently an unrestricted free agent. So if for some reason he departs and you're looking at Ruggs as the, number 1 wide receiver, probably number 2 option on that team, I think you move him up to maybe like the 7th or 8th round, because in our mock draft, he hasn't gone yet. I don't even know where he is on your board right now.
He's in that tier of like sophomore wide receivers like Jalen Reagor, guys like that. Or I mean, I think he's near Christian Kirk too, and Christian Kirk's going into I think his 4th year. But guys who like still have that potential to break out this year. It's just I don't know how likely it is. That like true sleeper wide receivers. That's the tier that he's in for me. If Russell Wilson is there though, he's still probably going to be near that tier, but he's definitely going to be at the top of it.
So we talked about the wide receivers and tight ends for these 4 teams. If Russ were to go to them, let's quickly hit on the running back position here. You have Zeke on the Cowboys, obviously Alvin Kamara on the Saints, Josh Jacobs on the Raiders, and David Montgomery on the Bears. Which of those 4 running backs benefits the most from Russell Wilson joining their team?
I think it's actually a running back that you haven't mentioned. I think it's Tariq Cohen on the Bears.
Wow, okay.
If you were to go to the Bears, because you're looking at a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield. You're looking at an overall offensive weapon. I think if Russell Wilson goes to the Bears, Tariq Cohen is going to be an RB2 potentially.
Where are you taking him?
I mean, I'm still probably going to take him in RB3 land because I think you'll be able to get him there. I just think he'll have the upside of potentially being more than that.
Would you be willing to do a no running back strategy and take him as your RB2?
Yep, I would. I would.
Interesting. Yeah, no, listen, I like Trey Cohen. I had Trey Cohen in a few leagues coming into this year because I thought he would be, that primary pass catching running back. Then he got hurt. And obviously we saw David Montgomery take over those duties, and he kind of did a pretty nice job with it. So if you are drafting Trey Cohen in that spot, hoping for him to regain that role, you just have to think that maybe the Bears would scale back on Montgomery's target share, or if they really do believe in him to be that all-purpose back, then maybe Cohen would somehow take a hit this year. I don't know.
Yep. No, I mean it's definitely an interesting thing to think about. Obviously, it helps. Well, I don't know if I want to say it helps Zeke because again, we have to look at like Dak versus Wilson. I really don't think either way there's much of a difference fantasy wise for the guys around them. Dak there helps Zeke, Wilson there helps Zeke. I mean, you look at the other options. Alvin Kamara.
That's who I
Yeah,
think benefits the most, because then you know who's at quarterback.
more
Right
than
now,
Taysom Hill.
yeah, right now, I think in our mock draft, I took him 6th overall, which is still crazy because he finished this past year as the RB1. And what did he need to prove more? Because he finished the year before that also as a high-end RB1. Alvin Kamara is amazing. He scores touchdowns. He catches the ball. He really does it all. You give him Russell Wilson, a guy who, you could just start throwing Alvin Kamara out wide and maybe send him down the field and have Russ throw him the ball. I think there's so many different things you can do with Alvin Kamara. I think I would make the argument that if Russell Wilson joins the Saints, that Alvin Kamara is the overall RB1 next
And
season.
you know what? I don't know how much I could disagree with that. He would be in a tier with Christian McCaffrey. He would get up to the McCaffrey tier if
Absolutely.
that were to happen.
Absolutely.
He would definitely be.
Unless the Panthers go out and get Deshaun Watson, and then you have Watson and Christian McCaffrey, in which case you have Christian McCaffrey on this gold-plated tier like you've never seen before in fantasy football. Honestly, I would trade probably my first 3 rounds to just get Christian McCaffrey if he was with Watson. It'd be insane.
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy.
All right, I think that's going to do it for us here on this extra episode of the Fantasy Football Laboratory. Let us know if you guys like these. There's obviously a lot of rumors going around in free agency and with the offseason in full swing right now. So we might have a few more of these coming up eventually. If maybe Russ does get traded in the next few days, we don't have an episode out, we'll do one of these. It should be very interesting. For Jack, the chemist, McGrath, who is not here, Spitfire Lucas Parrish, and the King of Trades, myself, Shane Palma, have a great day.